Welcome to the Value Add with me, Alex Pierce. We're going to look at something a bit different. We are looking at the Department for Education standard for schools and colleges around IT. There are 8 separate sections, but what we're actually going to do is take those standards and pipe them into a large language model, and we're going to see what AI can tell us about them, but also how it might be able to help you as that school or college around building tenders, what you might want to be able to do from a maturity point of view and building maturity, or a checklist if you're a senior leader, making sure that everything's going right within IT according to what's going on within the DfE. So let's take a look. Here you can see the DfE standards on the Government UK website. These are for schools in England, not necessarily Scotland or Wales or anywhere else in the country. I think the important thing here is that actually it gives us a good baseline for wherever you are in the world around what we should be looking to implementing and to be using as these standards. They are technical standards, but also documentation and safeguarding and all sorts of things like that, which are really, really useful. So looking down here, you can kind of see different areas from broadband, network switches, cabling, Wi-Fi. We've also got cybersecurity, and as you can also see there, a few extras at the end. The filtering and the monitoring is quite topical at the moment. They have been added as part of safeguarding logs and information for schools as of this academic year. So this is really important to go through. So as you'll see, there's kind of different pages as we go through, and you kind of break down on what those standards are, how to meet the standard, any kind of tech requirements around those, and also maybe who is responsible as part of that kind of area. So whether it's staff, whether it's a designated safeguarding lead or anything like that, these information is kind of provided for them. So what I've done is I've actually taken these 8-9 pages and I've added them to a Word document. As you can kind of see here, it's just a simple copy and paste. There's no kind of filtering or anything like that. I've just kind of put it out, and as a requirement for Claude 2, I have to put these into a PDF, which you will see I have just done here. And what we're going to do now is upload this to Claude. Here you can see I've got Claude 2 open. It's a AI large language model. It's quite a good one. It has a lot more tokens and the ability and parameters, which means I can actually put more data into this than I can necessarily with something like ChatGDP. It also means I can get more text out of it. So I'm going to get a lot more kind of responses and in-depth knowledge. It also means that the difference between ChatGDP and Claude 2 is that you can actually look at the whole of this document. I wouldn't be able to do this inside of ChatGDP. So what I'm going to do is pull out our PDF, and there you go. You can see that I've got that pulled through now. You can start seeing that PDF file, and I can instantly start going off and asking it some questions around this PDF file. So let's go. Can you tell me the kind of standards that are required of my school? So a nice little simple one. Let's see what it comes back with as part of this. And here we go. Here's our response. Based on the document provided, here are some key standards the schools and colleges should aim to meet. So it's looked at those 8 different categories. It's broken down kind of network and put in the Wi-Fi stands into there. Put some cloud in there. Cybersecurity, protect devices with firewalls, train staff on cybersecurity training, conduct risk assessment. Great kind of insight here. We've got that filtering and the server storage. So even though we had 8 categories beforehand, we've broken this down into quite a few less. As you can kind of see there, it says train staff on cybersecurity basics like phishing awareness. So let's ask it a question around what that training should be. What training should I provide for my staff based on these standards? Let's see what comes back. Again, when I did some practice around this earlier on, this was actually really useful. I couldn't believe the amount of good, the list that you can kind of see here of the training is absolutely phenomenal. So Let's make it a little bit more details. Can you provide me with a checklist for training staff? So we've got some great insight here. As you can kind of see what it's just thinking around accessibility, around data protection, incident response training. So really important stuff. Let's see what it comes back with from this whole kind of asking it for a checklist. There we go. A lot more kind of breaking it down. So we've got cloud security training, filtering training, data protection training, incident response training. I think this list is absolutely phenomenal. Here we go. We've got about 20 in there for us to be able to go off and look like provide annual cybersecurity awareness training for all staff. What else have we got there? Track and record training completion. That is one of the standards the DfE want to know when this has been done. Data protection training inclusion of information from GDPR, data breach response process as well. So this really does give us a great list of things that we can be doing for our staff on that yearly basis and make sure we're going off and ticking. So really simple question, looking at the standards and be able to give us a response. So let's break down to a bit more of the categories around these different areas. So we've just done that training with staff. Let's now look at maybe some Wi-Fi standards. So what are the Wi-Fi standards I need to have for my procurement? So he's looking through this 56-page document and checking to see what it can find. And it says here are the key things. So we're looking at things like Wi-Fi 6, some high performance equipment, as it says here, interfaces with 1 gig, 2.55 or even higher. Looking at using security features. I mean, some of these are absolutely brilliant to see and to give you a real insight to the kind of things that you should be asking a supplier for around a Wi-Fi implementation and what it means to be compliant, but also at the same time that, as it says, their quality of service, ensure the Wi-Fi network can prioritize traffic like voice, video, and critical business applications. One thing when I speak to schools, colleges, universities is could you actually break out your internet line? So even though the kids are out watching YouTube at lunchtime in the library, could you actually still provide their kind of access directly to the Google environment or Microsoft environment to ensure that quality of service from that point of view? So this is a great one. Let's now tell it we're building a tender. So I am the head teacher of the school and I need to write a tender around the cabling standards. What functional requirements should be in the tender document? So he's going to go off, he's going to think a little bit more here and pull that information through. But Claude 2 also understands the whole kind of what a tender is and how that should actually look and how that should be broken out. Right, here we go. All new copper network cabling must be category 6. I know that's in those standards. Any kind of fiber stuff must be OM4. So you can kind of see the kind of standards there we require. 25-year warranty. So this really does make it easy for me to be able to almost copy and paste this into a tender document. We'll ask it based on this cabling tender, what should my non-functional requirements be? It understands my typos there, so we'll leave that in there for now. Here we go. Here are the recommendations around those kind of things. So we've got reliability being in there, support, maintenance, cable testing should be conducted annually. So maybe something to add as part of your own policies. Security cabling design should avoid single points of failure. You don't want your network kind of following that. So those are a great set list of requirements that go above and beyond almost what we've got in there from a DfE kind of side of things. And AI is really supporting you in the delivery of making sure a cabling installation is successful within your organization. Let's look at documentation. I know documentation is quite difficult sometimes to do inside of a school or college, mainly because of time. So let's see if we can get a priority list of documents that we should kind of do based on these standards. So As I am the IT director, can you tell me what is best to get documented from the standards ASAP? As a director, here are key things I would prioritize getting documented and implemented. So cybersecurity policies and control, incident response. So if you are, or if you ever do have a hack, you know what you're going to do first and you can get hold of those documents. A cloud strategy and roadmap, data protection policy, filtering and monitoring. As I mentioned earlier on, these filtering and monitoring now are mentioned in the safeguarding for all schools. So that's a really important one. Vendor SLAs. I mean, this is just a really good comprehensive list, not just ones that come from those standards, but also a really good list of things that we should be doing. Staff training plan. What a great idea. So staff on that kind of cybersecurity, data protection. We're here to protect students and to enable them to learn. So a really key, important thing as part of those kind of side of things. But the last one I'm going to look at is around my kind of more kind of priorities from a governor's point of view. So maybe you're a governor for a school or a senior leader and you want to know what the kind of the top priorities are. To say, I am the chair of governors for my school. Tell me what the top 5 priorities are for these standards. Let's have a look. So as the chair of governors, here is a couple of things. Number 1, cybersecurity. Brilliant. Number 2, actually, cybersecurity training. Shows how important that is nowadays. Incident response. Verify the school has a tested cybersecurity incident response plan. It just shows that even here we are, it's the middle of September, and I've seen in the press around a number of schools that were hacked coming back as part of the September back to school. So it just shows that kind of thing. Cloud adoption strategy. So how can you utilize the cloud more, get a return on investment on a free platform, or certainly something if you're paying a lot into. So what is that kind of return on investment? And then also you can kind of see that annual IT standards review. Conduct an annual review of school infrastructure and priorities. As a chair of governors, do you want to know potentially where money might need to be spent in the next year, 2 years, 3 years around IT? And have you got a roadmap to make sure that IT becomes a really supportive set of education tools for the classroom? So there's other key priorities there listed, as you can kind of see. Systems being resilient and redundant, confirm appropriate data protection policies. That's not just done by IT, but that's a genuine kind of round all school kind of thing. It's not just about the fact that you might write it in an email or save it in a document, but how's it being written down in a notepad or something like that, and how is that being kind of destroyed? Verify servers and backups meet security and data protection standards. They are in those DfE standards around like a 3-2-1 approach. Check the Wi-Fi network cabling, and they meet those minimum standards too. So maybe that's something you might be looking for as part of things moving forward. Well, I hope you found that interesting, something a little bit different, and looking at those standards and how really AI can support you in your role. It doesn't necessarily have to be just those DfE standards. Can you look at other policies that we get from the DfE or Ofsted or whatever compliance levels that you've got with your education establishment, wherever you are around the world? So take a play with Claude 2, have a play with ChatGDP, upload those files or reference the website, and until then, I see you again on the value add. Cheers.